Welcome to STEM Pathway. In this video, we are going to discuss how to plot points on a Cartesian plane. And a Cartesian plane is a grid made up of two number lines that meet at 0 and divide the plane into 4 parts called quadrants. So here we have 4 quadrants. The first one is called the first quadrant, which is in the upper right. Second one is the second quadrant on the upper left. Third is the third quadrant on the lower left, and then fourth is the fourth quadrant on the lower right, all counted in anti-clockwise direction. We will also explore how to read and write the ordered pair or coordinates, which tells us the exact position of a point using x and y coordinates. Then I will guide you through several examples on how to locate and plot coordinates step by step on the Cartesian plane. Let's get started. Now, before we look at how to locate and plot points on a Cartesian plane, first let's look at what is a Cartesian plane. A Cartesian plane, sometimes we call it a coordinate plane, and this coordinate plane is a flat surface with two number lines that close each other at right angle like this. So in this case, when you have two number lines which are closing each other at a right angle that is 90 degrees, then we call it a Cartesian plane. And this Cartesian plane helps us to locate points using ordered pairs. Ordered pairs, sometimes we call them coordinates. These are coordinates, and the coordinates are always in a format of x, y. So x comes first and then y follows. And when you are locating them on this Cartesian plane, then you must first locate the point on the x-axis, then followed by y-axis. If you forget this, remember the alphabetical order. X comes first, then y follows, and that is exactly what we do here. So in this case, we also want to look at the parts of the Cartesian plane. And in a Cartesian plane, we have the first part, which we call the x-axis. The x-axis is a horizontal line. So this one is horizontal. This is horizontal line, which runs from the left side. This is the left to the right side, and it shows us how far you move from the origin to the left or to the right side of a Cartesian plane, and this is what we call the x-axis. Then we also have the second part of a Cartesian plane, that is the y-axis, and this one here is a vertical. This one is a vertical line that runs up and down, and it shows us how far you move from the origin to the upper side or to the lower side of the origin. So this one runs from up and then down, and we call it the y-axis. This is the y-axis. We can call it here y-axis. Now, the other part of the Cartesian plane that we have is the origin, and the origin has coordinates of 0, 0. So it means at this point here, where these two number lines meet, that's what we call the origin. This is the origin, and this origin has coordinates of 0, 0, and that is where we start counting, or we start all the measurements from. So if we want to look at a point in the x-axis, we must stand at the origin, and then we look at if either it's going to the right side or to the left side. And if you are looking for a number on the y-axis, we stand at the origin, then we look at how far is it upwards or downwards. And then the fourth part of a Cartesian plane is what we call the quadrants. Quadrants, these are 4 sections of a Cartesian plane, which are created when x and y axis intersect. Now, these ones are numbered in Roman numbers. The first one here on the upper right, we call it the first quadrant, and we give it Roman 1. The name is first quadrant. Then the second one here, we count anti-clockwise direction. We go to this one. This is the second quadrant. So this one we call it the second quadrant. Then now we move also in anti-clockwise direction to this one. This one we call it the third quadrant. So this is the third quadrant. And then we also move in anti-clockwise direction to this last one here, which we call the fourth quadrant. This is the fourth quadrant. Now this quadrant also have the signs of the x and the y coordinates, and the first one, or the first quadrant, it has the x and the y coordinates, and the x is positive, y is also positive. If you come to the second quadrant, we have x and y. The x is in this case negative, this one is negative, then y is positive. Those are the sign of any coordinate that you will get from the second quadrant. Then if you go to the third quadrant, here you have x and y. The value of x is negative, while that of y is also negative in the third quadrant. Then if you go to the fourth quadrant, you have x and then you have y. The value of x is positive, and then y is negative. So those are the signs of the coordinates in the four quadrants. Now let's also look at what we call the ordered pair. An ordered pair, sometimes we call it a coordinate. And a coordinate is a way of writing the exact position of a point on a Cartesian plane, and it's always in the format of x, then y, and then you enclose it with a bracket like that. So whenever you are writing a coordinate or an ordered pair, you must first begin with the point on the x-axis, and then you move to the y-axis alphabetically. Remember, x comes first, then y follows. So in this case, when we talked about a Cartesian plane, we said these are two number lines which intersect at a right angle, and they form what we call the x-axis, which runs from the left to the right, and also the y-axis, which runs up and down. So in this case, this line which is running from the left side, this is the left, and then the other side we can call it right. This is what we call the x-axis. And then this one which is running up and then down, this is what we call the y-axis. And now, since we said these two lines are number lines, and where they meet here, this point where they meet, we called it an origin. This is an origin, and it has coordinates of 0, 0. Therefore, it means if this origin is 0, then if you move on the x-axis, where from left to right, and you move to the right side, then you are moving to the positive side of a number line. So you move to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And if you are at the origin and you move to the left on the x-axis, you move to the negative side of the number line. So you move to -1, -2, -3, -4, and -5. If you are on the same origin and you have a number line now running up and down in the y-axis, if you move up, you will move to the positive side of the number line. So you move to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And if you move from this origin downwards on the y-axis, then you move to the negative side. So -1, -2, -3, and -4. So that's how a Cartesian plane looks like. Remember, we called this one the first quadrant. This is the second quadrant. Third quadrant, we number it anti-clockwise, and then we have the fourth quadrant here. So in this case, when we are locating these coordinates on a Cartesian plane in a format of x, y, it means when we are looking at a point, the x part, this means we are looking at what we call the x coordinate. This is the x coordinate, and the x coordinate, it tells us how far you move to the right. And remember, when you are on the x-axis at this 0 origin, if you move to the right, you are moving to the positive side. So how far you move to the positive on the right, or to the left, And if you are on this x-axis and you are moving from the origin to the left, you are moving on the negative side. So the x-coordinate tells us how far you move from the left to the right, or from right to the left from the origin. Now in this case, we should also include from the origin. So like in this case, if we have a coordinate like this, 3, 4, this means This first part here is the x, this second part here is the y. Therefore, in this case, it is telling us that you are moving to the positive side, the third mark on the x-axis. You are moving 3 points from the origin to the right. So in this case, the x-coordinate is 3. So, and if you want to locate it on this number line, then you have to move from the origin, you move to the right up to this point. So in that case, you have located the x-axis. And now when you locate the y-coordinate, so if you are locating the point y in this case, then you are referring to the y-coordinate. And in this case, the y-coordinate, it always tells us how far you move up, that is to the positive, or how far you are moving down to the negative from the origin. And in the same case, if you have a coordinate like 3, 4, this 3 will represent the x, then 4 will represent y. And in this case, if we are talking of the y coordinate, then we mean this part. It means you are moving 4 points to the positive on the y-axis. And like in this case, if you are at this 0 origin, you move 4 points up. So you will move up to this point here. So you are at this point, this 4th point here. So if you have to locate this point, which is 3, 4, then you have to move from the origin to the right 3 points up to this. And then now you move up to the 4th part. Then that point you are looking for is this one. So this is the one that we have as 3, 4. It means we have moved 3 points to the right from the origin, and from that point we have moved 4 points upwards from the origin. That's the point which we call 3, 4. And I want us to locate another point. For example, let's locate this point, -2, 3. So in this case, when we talk about -2, 3, it means the x part is -2, then the y part is 3. Therefore, in this case, for us to locate this -2, it means we will be at the origin, then we move 2 points backwards or to the left. So we'll move to -1 and then -2. So that part is here. Then now from here, we will move 3 points to the positive of the y-axis. To the positive of the y-axis is upwards, so we'll be at this -2. Then we move 3 points up, that is 1, 2, and 3. So that point is here, and we can label it as -2, 3. So now that we have seen how ordered pair or coordinates work on a Cartesian plane, remember we have said a coordinate must have x part, then followed by y part. And what's important here is that this x comes first, then y comes second, in that order alphabetically. Remember, x comes first, then y follows. And another important thing on the same is that this x shows us how we move from left or to the right from the origin, while this y coordinate shows us how far we move up or down from the origin. Now let's look at if we can be able to locate these coordinates on this Cartesian plane. And the first one that we have here is point A, where we have 1, this one is in the x-axis, then we have 4, this one is in the y-axis. Now these two numbers, x and y, that is 1 and 4, both of them are positive. So it means from the origin, you move 1 point to the right, that is in the x-axis. So here you move to this one, and then now from here you move 4 points up in the y-axis. So you are at 1, you move up 1, 2, 3, 4. So the point that you are looking for is this one here, and we can call it point A, and we label it 1, 4. So this means you moved 1 to the right and then 4 upwards. Let's look at the second point, that is B. B, we have -1 on the x, and then we have +1 on the y. So you come to the number line here, then on this origin you move one step to the left on the x-axis because it's -1. So you move one step, you will be at this point. Then now you move one step to the positive on the y-axis, so it means you move up one step. So that point you are looking for is this one here. We can call it B, and its coordinate is -1, then 1. Then part C, we have point C, where we have -3 and -4. So this -3 takes the x, -4 takes the y. So if you are at the origin, it means you move -3. You move 3 points to the left, so you will come to this point here. Then now you move -4 on the y-axis, so it means negative, you move downwards. So you will move from -3, you move 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that point you are looking for is this one here. This is point C with the coordinates -3, 3 steps to the left of the x-axis, then -4. That is 4 steps from the origin downwards on the y-axis. Then another point that we have is D, which is point D, which is 2, this is in the x, -1 in the y. So in this case you will be at the origin, then you move 2 on the x-axis, that is positive, so it means you move to the right. From the origin you move 1, 2. Now from 2 on the y-axis you move -1, so it means you move downwards on the y-axis. So that point is here. This is point D, whose coordinates are 2, then -1. Remember, we move to the x-axis first, and then we follow by the y-axis. Now let's look at E. The point E that we have here is -2, 0. So in this case, you will start with the x part, which is -2, and then the y will be 0. So in this case, you come to the origin, -2 on the x-axis, you move to the left 2 steps, 1, 2, so you will be here. And then on the y-axis, you move 0 times. So in this case, you remain on the same point here. So this is the point which we call E, and its coordinate is -2, 0. So on the y-axis, you don't move, you stay at 0. Then another coordinate that we have is this F. X is -1, this is x, y is -2. So in this case, you come to the origin, x, you move to the -1, so you move 1 step to the left here. Then you move 2 steps on the y-axis downwards because it's -2. So from this -1 on the x, then you move 2 steps down. You move to this point. This is the point that you are looking for. This is the point we call F, with coordinates -1, -2. Then another point that we have is G. On G, we have 3 as the x, then -2 as the y. So in this case, 3 on the x, it means from the origin here, you move 3 steps to the right. So you move 1, 2, 3. You are at this point. And then now from there, you move -2 on the y-axis, so it means you move downwards. So you will move -1, then -2. So this is the point that you are looking for, and this one is what we call G, with coordinates 3, -2. Let's proceed. You have another point here called edge. Edge is 0, -4. So on the x-axis, we don't move from the origin. Then on the y-axis, we move -4. So this is the y. So in this case, it means 0 on the x-axis, we remain at the origin. And then -4 on the y-axis, we move 4 steps downwards because it's -4. So the point that we are interested in is this one here. This point here. 0 on the x-axis. On the y-axis, -4. So this is the point which we call edge, and its coordinates are 0, -4. Another one that we have is this one here, I is x is -2, y is 2. So in this case, x -2, it means you are at the origin, you move 2 steps back, you move to -1, you move to -2. Now, while you are standing at -2, you move 2 steps on the positive side of y-axis, that is +2. So it means you move upwards. You move from this -2, you move up 1 step, then you move another one. That point will be here. This is what we call point I, with coordinates -2, then +2. Now, another one that we have is J. J is -4 on the x, -1 on the y. So this y. Therefore, in this case, you will come to the origin. X is -4. You move 4 steps to the left. So you move to -1, -2, -3, -4. You stand at this -4. Then now you move 1 step to the negative side of the y-axis. So it means we move down this point here. This is the point which we call J. And its coordinates are -4 on the x, then -1 on the y-axis. Then finally, we look at point K, which is 0 on the x, and then 1 on the y. So in this case, on the x, it is 0. It means we are not going to move any step. And then on the y, where we are standing at this 0, we make a step to the positive side of the y-axis, upward 1. So that point is here, which we can call K, and its coordinate is 0, 1. So that's how you locate points on a Cartesian plane. Now, are you able to locate this point? 3. Can you locate that point? And then you comment the coordinates on the comment section.